Hello and welcome back to another installment of PokeFodder, where today I want to talk about a how-to video on Kyurem. There are 3 different figures that make up Kyurem and kind of 5 different figures. So what I want to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the base figure Kyurem. It is an EX figure. It was just released with version 6.0. Let's just jump into this. So we've got a Dragon Ice type with the ability of Permafrost. If this Pokemon is not affected by a special condition, then the frozen condition of Pokemon within 2 steps of this Pokemon cannot be removed by tagging. Very similar to Bergmite, except for Bergmite is an uncommon and it has to be adjacent to the frozen figure. What we have at level 1, and you can see this figure, I haven't touched this figure, this is fresh out of the box. It says sea level 1, but I haven't even allocated my chain level, because when you pull the 10 packs, any new figures come with 1 sea level to them. We've got a 4 miss, and we're actually going to have 2 4 miss slices. One of those will go away, and it's the one between the purples when you get this guy up to level 5. We have 12 Fly, which is 3-star purple, and then we have a 40 wheel slice of Ice Beam for 1 Tim. If this Pokemon is knocked out, the battle opponent becomes frozen. We have a very small 12 wheel slice of Outrage, but it doesn't matter. That hits for 150. This Pokemon becomes confused. What that means is, if you can manage to land Outrage, or if you get attacked by Sableye and get confused, you're now going to have a 40 wheel slice of Outrage, because Ice Beam is going to slide over to Outrage. That was absolutely done on purpose. You now have a 4 wheel slice of Miss and a 24 wheel slice of Glaciate. All opposing Pokemon on the field that are not Fire, Water, Ice, or Steel type spin, and you attach a MP -1 marker to those that spin wide attacks. That is pretty crippling if you think about how heavy of a white meta we are in right now, especially with Ultra Beast decks. Altaria, you have Zoroark is predominantly white. I'm trying to think off that. Ampharos is predominantly white, so that can be a very crippling move, especially if you have multiple figures spinning white. They're not going to be able to get to each other to tag to remove the markers. So that move alone, I think if you're going to level up Kyurem, I think you go with Ice Beam. But I don't know that you would be wrong for doing Glaciate. I think that can be an absolutely crippling maneuver if you are able to pull that one off. So there's your basic Kyurem. 150 is huge. There's not a lot that's going to get up and over 150. The 110, Zoro is going to be an issue with this figure, but you're going to be able to knock out a lot of other figures with this. So it's a nice figure. Do I think it's the best figure in the banner? Do I think it's a must run? I don't know. As you can see, I haven't used my Kyurem at all. The jury is still out on that. And as you can see right here with this blue question mark, that's where your black and white Kyurem go. Unfortunately, I don't have black or white Kyurem. I pulled neither of them. So what we're going to have to do is we are going to have to jump into shop and go over here to the boosters. Check out our 10 packs. And I have enough materials that I could craft them both, one or the other, or both. I just don't know. I've crafted a lot lately, and I'm probably not going to spend much, if anything, on the next banner, so I may just want to craft something from the next banner. So I don't know. I still want to see more of black and white Kyurem, because like I mentioned before, they're kind of expensive. If you're when you start talking about UX figures, it's almost 400,000 ingots to get to level 5, and then it's 150 Carbonite per level after that. So 750 Carbonite, that gets expensive in a hurry, and I'm heavily invested in my Ultra Beast deck at the moment. So I'm tapping the brakes on these, but that doesn't mean that they are bad figures. If we jump into Black Kyurem, it is Dragon Ice with Terravolt. This Pokemon can only be set as a form in a deck. We know that. The effects and abilities of the battle opponent that increase or decrease attack damages are nullified. That is huge, especially in this day and age where you have Beware, you have Stuffle, you have Lunala, you have the Altarias, you have Coco, you have Swablu's. Like, there's a bunch of plus, like, just messing with your attack damage. There's a lot of that going on. And so for this to nullify that is a pretty great ability, actually. This Pokemon can MP move over other Pokemon, and that is not limited to on the board. It can go from the bench over a capped entry point. Keep that in mind if you go up against one of these in an upcoming gym or you see them on the field. Just because you take over entry points does not mean that they can't get their figure out on the board. When this Pokemon is knocked out, it can change forms to Kyurem without moving to the PC. That's huge. Like, I've got a video that we're going to watch at the end of this that kind of showcases this, but I think that is an amazing ability, and that right there might be worth running these figures, to tell you the truth. If it does, and there are any of your Zekrom that have been excluded from the duel, move one of the Zekrom to the bench. So the way that you are going to get your Black Kyurem or your White Kyurem is you're going to use a DNA splicer plate. And we'll go over that when I look at the plates, but I just kind of want to go over the figures first. A 4-miss, which is going to go away at level 5. A 16 fly, this Pokemon jumps over the battle opponent and lands 1 or 2 steps away, so it's the same as Zekrom. 32 freeze shock for 140. The battle opponent becomes paralyzed. If the battle opponent has weight, the battle opponent is knocked out instead of this Pokemon. You know, you could pair this with the Xurkitree, because Xurkitree is going to paralyze on the first attack. Maybe. I mean, I don't know. Sounds good to me, but if you're looking for ideas, maybe that's an idea. I know a lot of people like to run with Altarias and a little more synergy there, but I gotta say, if the opponent's getting knocked out instead of me, that's something I'm gonna look into. The drawback on Black Kyurem for me is another 16 fly, which means you're gonna have 32 wheel slice of fly, and it's pretty easy to set up fly traps. And if you get fly trapped, like, you can't get out of changing back to regular Kyurem, you're still surrounded. So a little bit of a drawback for this figure, in my opinion. Then you have the 4 dodge, which will go away if you have a status effect, and 24 wheel slice of Fusion Bolt, 100. If this Pokemon is not affected by a special condition and any of your Pokemon on the field has Fusion Flare, so that's either going to be Reshiram or it's going to be White Kyurem. Exclude that Pokemon out by this attack from the duel. I think it's nice. I think no miss is great. The opportunity to banish, you know how I feel about banishing, but this isn't super easy to banish. Like, there's some conditions that have to be met here. So overall, I think it's a nice figure. Again, it's really expensive, and I don't know that the cost, you know, if you go back to when I did the Swablu deck, and the reason why I called it the best deck in Pokemon Duel is because, like, the ingot to win ratio, if you will. I don't know that the ingot to win ratio for this figure is, I think it's an expensive figure for that reason. I don't know that you're going to win significantly more by running this figure or taking it up to level 5 or level 10 and decreasing those flies for the cost. You know, I hope that makes sense. But the Swablu deck costs very little ingots, very little resources, very little Carbonite, and I think you can win at a really high rate with that deck. Black Kyurem is a better figure, don't get me wrong, but it's going to cost you a lot more, and I don't know that you're going to win significantly more by having this figure on the board. I hope that makes sense to you guys. Now let's jump into White Kyurem. I actually feel like White Kyurem is probably the better of the two figures, which is I'm gonna reserve judgment 100% on that, because for the longest time everybody said Reshiram was better than Zekrom, and then Zekrom got Coco, and now I think it's pretty unanimous that Zekrom is the better figure between Reshiram and Zekrom. But for now, I think White Kyurem is better than Black Kyurem, although I'm going to reserve judgment because that could change depending on what's released in the future. It's another Dragon Ice figure. Turbo Blaze is the ability. Again, you have to set it as a form in the deck. The effects of the abilities that battle opponents increase or decrease attack damages are nullified. Again, love it. This Pokemon can MP move over other Pokemon. Okay. There's a lot of abilities going on in this figure. When this Pokemon is knocked out, it can change form. When it does, blah, 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 blah. So it's the exact same ability as Zekrom, or White Kyurem. It's just called something different. If we look at the wheel, it's got two 4 miss slices. One of those will go away at level 5. It has a 1-star Draco Meteor. And I did mention in my video that I did for the release of 6.0 that I wasn't sure if these got an extra star and plus 10 damage, and the answer is no, they do not, because it's not an evolution, it is changing forms. So your Draco Meteor is going to stay 1 star, and unless you use X special attack, it will stay as 1 star. One of the other Pokemon on the field spins. If they spin a miss or a white attack of 70 damage or more, they are knocked out. Very heavy white meta right now. That is a very good ability. I don't know, it's not an ability, but it's a very good attack. How about that? I like it. 32 Wheel Slice of Ice Burn that hits for 140. The battle opponent becomes burned. If the battle opponent has weight, the battle opponent is knocked out instead of this Pokemon. So, you know, there's a lot of figures that give weight. I don't know that is a condition I would really ever count on being around. I don't think I'd build a deck around giving figures weight and then attacking them with White Kyurem, if that makes sense. Whereas I can see with Black Kyurem putting figures that give weight to knock out, and I don't know, or for the paralysis to knock them out. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I hope it does. Again, Draco Meteor, the other miss section, and then 24 Wheel Slice of Fusion Flare for 100. If this Pokemon is not affected by special condition and any of your Pokemon on the field has Fusion Bolt, which is going to be either your Black Kyurem or your Zekrom, they are excluded from the duel. Now, we have information on Black Kyurem. We have information on White Kyurem. If we go into the plate shop, here's how you're going to make all this work. You are going to set your Kyurem in your deck. You are going to set your white, you're going to set your Reshiram and your Zekrom in your deck. And you don't even have to have both. You could have one if you just wanted to run the black or white form of Kyurem. I personally wouldn't do that. I'd keep it as a set, but to each their own. And then you're going to need to go in here and purchase this DNA Splicer plate. Choose one of your Kyurem on the field and one of your Zekrom or Reshiram on the field or bench or in the PC. And that's important. You can take a figure out of the PC and splice it together. It's going to act as a max revive, because remember, when Kyurem gets knocked out, your figure is going to come back to the bench. So if it went from the PC, it's now going to come back to the bench. Exclude that Zekrom or Reshiram from the duel and change the form Kyurem, Black Kyurem, or White Kyurem, and your turn ends. There we go. So there we have it. I've got a video that I want to show you that was on featured duels that will go over everything. I believe Red is the name of the player. He's running Reshiram, Zekrom, Altaria, and he's running White Kyurem. And pretty much you're going to see everything that you need to see about how to splice it together, what happens on the attacks, Draco Meteor, the getting knocked out, the removing from the PC. It's a very good representation of White Kyurem, and just know that Black Kyurem reacts exactly the same. I'm going to set up that match, and as far as you guys know, nothing will have changed. I'll be right back. Okay, so the match that I want to show you guys does a really nice job of kind of going through just about everything that Kyurem, in this case White Kyurem, but Black Kyurem as well, can do. I think it's a really good feature for the figure. So let's jump into it. We've got Red versus Sage, and Sage is running a really unique Ultra Beast deck, very high powered, relies a lot on electrocuting or paralyzing your opponent and getting the double damage. Where our hero Red is running what I think looks to be one of the more common or preferred builds when using Kyurem and the dragons, is to include at least one Altaria with it. So as we see, the Ultra Beast Circuitry is going to absolutely demolish Zapdos there. Sorry, I'm forgetting my figures here. And then would have annihilated Tapu Koko, but Tapu Koko always seems to be able to roll blue when it is needed. Our hero Red is going to bring out his Reshiram and his Zekrom. Now remember, as is, the twins still act the same. There's no difference to them when they're on the field. When, just because Kyurem is on the field, it doesn't change anything. Red is going to drop an Overdrive down, move his Reshiram up. 116 would have been, it would not have even been a banish move because he got paralyzed. So because it got a status effect left on it, I don't believe the circuitry would have been eliminated from the duel. But that is one thing that I would like to further explore, is because it's if the attack leaves a status effect, and just because circuitry attacks you is going to leave a status effect. So I don't know if that's the same mechanic or not. Sometimes they change a little bit. Our Reshiram is going to get knocked out here, but the really good thing is you can pull your Reshiram out of the PC to create your White Kyurem. So here we go. Now Kyurem is kind of a monster here. It's got, what is this? It's got 140 that turns into 150 because of Altaria. It's got the Draco Meteor. It's got, I can't see what that other one is. I think it's a 10 something. 101 maybe? Yeah, I believe it's a 101 attack. So, and the banish is still, it's still on the table. Like, you can still banish the figures. I'm not sure why my opponent decided to respin here. He gets the Draco, which I think is one of the best moves, the best purple moves in the game. And it doesn't work out for him. But I think I would have just taken the KO. I've said it before in other videos of mine. And I don't always follow my own rule. But if you spin a winning roll and you have a double chance, more times than not, it is better to just go ahead and take your winning roll. Now, had that circuitry attacked prior to meeting up with White Kyurem there, that would have been a banish move. But because it left a status behind, that kind of answers the question from earlier about Reshiram, is even if you roll the banish move, you still aren't going to get the banish. But I really do like Draco Meteor. I think I understand why it's only 1 star. Maybe if they come out with more of those, it would be nice. Again, the ability to just move over your opponents is really nice. And it works for moving over from the bench onto the field. So, I mean, that's pretty crazy, actually. I don't think we've quite seen a figure like this. Now, circuitry knocks out the White Kyurem, but look at that. It worked as a max revive for Reshiram, and you're still sitting right next to your opponent's goal with a burn. So, there are some viable strategies that you could run where, you can, if you're set up to surround your opponent or make a serious threat on your opponent's goal, there are some strats that you can run where you take your Black or your White Kyurem up to the opponent's goal, and even if you get knocked out, you're still going to have a figure sitting right there. There's a lot to like about these figures. I'm a I'm actually going to end this video, or this game right here, because we've seen what we need to see. We saw White Kyurem. We saw the DNA splicer plate. We saw the figure Reshiram being moved from the PC into, technically it's banished. So it gets banished, but then come back from being banished to apply to the bench, kind of like a max revive. We saw Draco Meteor. We saw a solid 150 attack. There's a lot to like here. Let me know in the comments below, what do you guys think of the black and white Kyurems? Do you think that they are OP figures that everybody must run? What deck would you put them in? And here's the other side of it. Are they too expensive for what you get? That's what I want to know in the comments below. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and until next time.